The power and the scope of Katrina's destructive force is beginning to be fully understood now, and the despair is setting in.
Back in 2005, Hurricane Katrina struck the southern coast of America, namely Louisiana, and made a lasting impact not only on New Orleans, but affected every single person in the United States. Over the last 25 years or so, the United States has experienced several severe hurricanes that have caused crippling damage, resulting in close to $200 billion in repairs. Just in the last 10 years alone, more than half of this figure was produced, $105 billion. However, in August of 2005, when Hurricane Katrina hit the U.S., it was the most devastating hurricane the United States has ever experienced, causing damages worth about $81 billion. Katrina also affected more people than any other hurricane in our history.
The final death toll for Hurricane Katrina was 1,577.
People's homes were destroyed, schools were annihilated, and tens of thousands were left without jobs, shelter, cars, and much more. It is safe to say and agree that steps must be taken in order to avoid this kind of catastrophe from ever happening again. Since we can't control natural phenomenon, our only other option would be to take steps that would help next time a storm like Katrina comes. So now consider this question. Should the United States federal government fund billions of dollars to build hurricane defense in Louisiana? Initially, one would say that it is obvious that we should. These are good reasons. People's lives are at stake, and we can't let something like this happen ever again.
But there are much more facts that need to be considered when talking about this topic. Things that we will consider include the type of defenses that have been started, the financial side of things, and why there might be better reasons to not fund multi-billion-dollar construction programs.
After Katrina had run its course and all the water had cleared, revealing the damage, engineers, New Orleans political leaders, and national political leaders immediately got to work and wasted no time in formulating a plan to respond and try to restore things. During those discussions, many things were considered. First of all, President Bush asked Congress to provide about $2 billion to the engineering corporation so that they could restore New Orleans' levee system to pre-Katrina levels of defense.
But what were pre-Katrina levels of defense? In the mid-1950s, when the levee system was built in New Orleans, they were made in order to withstand the power of a 100-year flood. A 100-year flood is calculated to be the level of flood water expected to be equaled or exceeded every 100 years on average. Basically, this is a type of flood that has 1% chance of happening every year.
In 2008, the cost estimate for restoring New Orleans hurricane defenses had quadrupled, jumping to $9.5 billion since President George W. Bush asked Congress to supplement the original $2 billion request to restore the system to pre-Katrina levels.
By the end of 2009, that number got even higher, and experts asked for a total of $15.9 billion in order to build a levee system that could withstand a 100-year flood. At that time, engineers who were in charge of building this 350-mile-long levee system projected the completion would be in June of 2011. Since then, there have been many people that have spoken up during the process of construction.
Another concern is that even if the 100-year flood protection standard is met, That level of protection is below that of a 400-year storm, such as Katrina.
400-year storm? We talked about a 100-year flood, but a 400-year storm is a storm that occurs about every 400 years. Basically, this is a type of storm that has a 0.25% chance of happening every year. This is the type of storm that Katrina was. In the last 6 years, more and more experts have been saying that the only way it can be worth spending tens of billions of dollars is to build a levee system that can withstand a 400-year storm. And the cost of that is estimated to being about or more than $40 billion. In our economy, our government cannot afford it.
Despite all these facts, construction of the levee system still commenced. Although engineers claimed that they would be completed by June of 2011, the 22 miles of the levee system that were supposed to be done a year ago will be complete in a couple months. And to think that all this trouble with money and construction was done to protect less than 2% of the city's population at some points along the levee. On top of all that, even the leading engineers who are helping facilitate construction of the levees are doubtful that it will even be able to withstand a 100-year flood, yet alone another storm like Katrina. A better suggestion would be for the New Orleans coastal population to move inland than for our government to spend billions of dollars. According to most experts, they believe that this could just as easily happen again.
A 20-foot storm surge over the levee, which brought the industrial canal and parts of the Gulf into that parish.
All right, let me just stop you there. So 20 feet above the levee, a levee's obviously there to keep the water back. I mean, that's like a tidal wave.
Yes, sir. It's a levee of about 11 feet. And then when the storm pushed in, a 20-foot tidal surge breached that levee and brought all that water in.